Gotcha. Okay. Let's keep moving. Pac-12. Go.
All right. Speaking of Pac-12 and a team that I eliminated on the men's side just now in the past moment is Colorado men, even though they ran extremely well at Pac-12s, 39 points against a good field. Like Stanford has some good guys in there. They're Hicks, Robinson, and Sprout are three studs. Obviously, Oregon has their two guys in Tier and Bedenfeld. But Colorado, man, they packed it up. Edward Herrera was in the top three. And then it's just a bunch of new names. Like, Kevin, have you ever heard
Yes.
Austin Vancil, Andrew Kent, or Brandon Frazier or Charlie Sweeney? Like, of those four, have you heard of any of them? I've heard of Charlie Sweeney. He's a D2 transfer. He ran well at D2. But Brandon Frazier, I'd never heard of. Austin Vancil, I might have seen once. Andrew Kent, maybe. But, like, Wetmore is just taking new guys and turning them into legit D1 studs. And it's incredible, right? Like, the fact that you can look at Colorado's roster and look down and be like, oh, I don't know. This seems like a down year for them. I don't recognize. Obviously, they have Herrera. He's good. But, like, do I believe in a guy named Austin Vancil or Andrew Kent? But then, 2 months later, you're like, oh, that makes sense. They're being coached by Mark Wetmore. They're going to go from nobodies to somebodies in, 3 races. So I'm impressed with what Colorado's doing.
Very Hicks, impressive. Man, though. Let's talk about the individual race, though, with Hicks.
Okay.
Beating Tier by 10 seconds. Hicks is solid.
Yeah,
he keeps giving us reasons to believe in him.
Yeah, remember that one time I thought he was American?
It happens all the time on this show.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Charles Hicks, he's a low-key Olympic trials guy. And I was like, oh, he's not American. I'm really bad at that.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, so here's a question. Is this Hicks being a stud and being like, taking it to what we would consider the best distance runner in the NCAA in Cooper Tier? Yeah. Or is this Cooper Tier having a bad day?
This conference is pretty deep. So if you have a bad day, I think you're going to fall a little bit farther than that. I think it's a combination of the two things. I think Tier coming after his excellent track season is getting things going a little later, but Hicks has been consistent now. We keep bringing this guy. His name keeps coming up over and over and over again. I just like the way he closed. I thought it was really impressive. He went to high school in the United States, so you get partial credit. It's not your worst call here. But it's like, look at Hicks's year. Like, he got second at FSU and third at Nuttycombe. So the only people he lost to Wildshut at FSU, and then at Nuttycombe, he lost to Kiptoo and Tier. So he's avenged one of those losses. So the only person he hasn't beat out of these 3 meets has been Wildshut and Wesley Kiptoo.
Yeah, I mean, Hicks is going to finish top 7. I was going to say top 10, but now that he just beat Cooper Tier, I have to give more credit to it. So I said top 7. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's one of those things where you just need Hicks to do it at the NCAA level for you to kind of buy in, right? That's how it normally works.
Yeah, it's got to happen at a bigger stage for sure. But I mean, Tier, I'm not counting Tier out by any stretch of imagination. It's just conference. We've seen so much change from conference to nationals. Not going to get too concerned about that. Women's side of things, Colorado rolls, Gordon, to a title. You said, hey, this might be something to watch here. Colorado, maybe they get upset. Did not happen.
So Colorado looks good here through 4, right? Only 25-second gap between the 4, but the you have a little bit of a bigger gap through 5.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing, though. As I just said on the men's side, Mark Wetmore knows what he's doing. I am not going to let any number that I see or like thought that I see make me think a negative position on Colorado. Negative as in like, I think another team is better than you. So Even though I could argue, hey, their fifth is a little off. Like that could be a weakness. No, they don't have a weakness. They're good. They're going to podium. They're part of that big four of New Mexico, Colorado, BYU, NC State. And they're just, I think it's just going to be fate that decides where they finish. They're not finishing any worse than fourth. And if you go into a national championship knowing a bad day is a podium, you're in good shape going into NCAAs. So very impressed.
Did you just say fate will decide?
I'm trying to.
What do
I
you have
don't
a
know.
what do you have a job for? Your job's to analyze this stuff, not tell people fate will decide.
Well, here's the
What
thing.
am
On
I
the men's side, I started giving you my analysis, and I told you my three teams I think are going to win, and then you went like, "What about Notre Dame?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I believe Notre
I
Dame's
just
good. I just, you know,
I just think it was funny. You just said, you know what? Fate's gonna decide this thing.
well,
Nothing
because,
else.
I was,
You're saying it's close enough, right? That it's gonna come. It's not them having the huge deficiencies or them being overpowering. It's close enough to
yeah,
where some small thing is gonna have a huge impact. So what are we
yeah.
looking at?